Hey guys, Ron here, and since Legends Arceus just came out, and I can't literally fully script, record, and edit a video in 24 hours, I'm going to talk about some hypotheticals. What if Legends Arceus actually are the best games ever, and we end up getting 7 different Legends games for each region, each taking place in a different time period? Well, I basically decided to create 7 different concepts for games that don't exist. There's not much to show, so here's my face instead. So I'm going to give you quick summaries for the plot and game mechanics of these Legends games that I made, but if this video ends up becoming popular, let me know which one of these concepts you'd like to see fully fleshed out in a video where I actually talk about the details and make some concept art even. Keep in mind that Legends games, in my opinion, don't focus on the stories that we already know of. Like, Legends Arceus doesn't show us the lore of Sinnoh, so my Legends Kyurem game won't follow the 2 brothers who founded Unova, and my Legends Zygarde game won't be about stopping AZ from firing off the weapon. I'm trying to be somewhat original and made an effort to make each game have slightly different mechanics and even genres. For example, my concept for the Unova game is an action detective game that takes place in the city, while the Legends Jirachi game is a very wholesome slice of life game. I hope you enjoy, and make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell because I'm actually streaming Pokemon Legends Arceus right now on YouTube for the entire weekend and definitely in the future too. But let's go backwards from Galar to Kanto, starting with Pokémon Legends Eternatus takes place in Galar 150 years ago, at the beginning of the scientific age within the Pokemon world. Galar is the epicenter of industrialization, engineering, and science, and I envision this game to have this steampunk aesthetic, but with Pokemon. This is an age where man has begun to make machines that rival the power of Pokemon. You play as the apprentice of a scientist and inventor who is actually the grandfather of Magnolia, a very famous and wealthy guy who dedicates his life to making tools that help both humans and Pokemon, and he's currently producing items that can help Pokemon in battle. So throughout the game, while it's not originally part of the main plot, you go on missions to get him items for his inventions with the occasional help of your best friends, a paperboy who has this crush on your other friend who is a chimney sweep, both being the ancestors of Rose and Oleana. The items that you help your master build will boost the stats of your Pokemon in battle. You'll actually be able to visually see the items that you equip on your Pokemon. They're almost like the armor forms that were speculated in 2019. In the beginning of the game, you go to this party with various socialites and politicians to demonstrate your master's devices to his patrons and politicians. As a parliament member meets with the professor, you snoop around the mansion and encounter this secret society called the Order of Aurora. All of its members are high-class citizens who practice the occult, basically. They perform rituals and worship the power of Pokemon. They're frightened by this new scientific age and its potential to replace Pokemon. In fact, you slowly find out that they're using their rituals to extract the energy from Pokemon. This group is actually based on the Golden Dawn, a secret society in Victorian England that practiced magic and alchemy. The Order of Aurora begins to commit acts of terrorism by sabotaging power plants, mills, and straight up bombing science-based industries. You'll be stopping them throughout the game by infiltrating their bases and meetings, just generally stopping their plans and schemes. A lot of the in-game missions will take you to the lower class Undercity and the upper class districts. You'll be solving a lot of science-based puzzles using Pokemon, like using a Yamper to power up a machine, or using a Choodle's water gun to fill up empty spaces, or having your Kirlia use Trick Room to invert a dungeon. Basically like how in the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild, you mess around with the environment using mechanisms and science, and you'll be catching tons of urban Pokemon in this big city. By the end of the game, you'll be trying to stop the Order of Aurora from reviving Eternatus, so that they can show the world what Pokemon are capable of, and have them witness what true unlimited Pokemon power is. The final boss battle takes place in the outskirts of town, where the Order resurrected Eternatus in its original form. You know, with muscles and skin. You fight it as it slowly makes its way to the city, and you seal it using the invention that you've been helping your master make throughout the entire game, the world's first Master Ball. It's this giant sphere that you can use once you've actually weakened a very strong opponent, and once you catch it, the city is saved from danger and the Order is apprehended. Pokemon Legends Marshadow takes place 300 years before Ultra Sun and Moon. The game begins with a cutscene of Necrozma coming through a wormhole, injured and fractured, as parts of him scattered throughout Alola. At the same time, a war is raging between the Tapus, as the people of Alola are just frightened, cowering in fear. You play as a peasant from Ula Ula who unknowingly stumbles into Tapu Bulu's territory. As the deity is about to attack you, a Marshadow pops out of your shadow and saves you. Tapu Bulu leaves, and Marshadow begins to follow you as you perform various tasks that act as tutorial for this game's mechanics. Soon after, word spreads that you held your own against a Tapu, and the real game begins as the Kahuna tasks you with stopping the war between the Tapus. Now here is what the actual game is all about. You travel to each island and traverse various dungeons by solving environmental puzzles using various Pokemon you encounter. This Pikmin, Pokemon Ranger, Ratchet and Clank mechanic acts like a poker ride, where you control the Pokemon you befriend in the overworld, utilizing their abilities. So a water type will help you surf, a water type can incinerate vines and bushes, while an ice type can create frozen platforms. There are no Pokeballs, so you're simply followed by a maximum of 6 Pokemon in each dungeon that you use to fight and solve puzzles. But Marshadow is a Pokemon that you can use at any time, like the runes in Breath of the Wild. Marshadow can use like 5 of his abilities once he learns it from the overworld Pokemon that you first encounter in the dungeons, like the ghost technique to merge into walls and enter cracks and crevices, or the fighting technique to smash rocks. At the end of each dungeon is a totem Pokemon powered by the Z crystals that split from Necrozma. You'll need to defeat all 18 totem Pokemon so you can use them against the Tapus on each island. Once you defeat all 4 Tapus, you can use them to face off against the final boss, Necrozma, who is beginning to consume Alola's light. In this epic battle, the Tapus merge and use their signature Z move, Nature's Madness, for the very first time and defeat Necrozma. Pokémon Legends Zygarde takes place 3,000 years ago, immediately after AZ launches the ultimate weapon. You play as a knight in the enemy army led by AZ's brother, who has finally understood the gravity of his ambitions and has decided to end the war. He tasks you with helping his brother, who is trapped and suspended in animation within the blast radius of the ultimate weapon. You're the only person who was caught in the blast that didn't die from the impact or radiation, and was actually supplied with enough infinity energy to withstand the weapon's radiation. The player must now gather all 100 Zygarde cells scattered around Kalos in order to revive Zygarde and battle an infinity energy powered Mega AZ and seal the weapon. Just like in Breath of the Wild, you can go into this impossible boss from the beginning of the game, or gather enough power to take down half of Mega AZ's HP from the beginning of the battle, with Zygarde complete. Each form of Zygarde adds to how much damage you deal at the beginning of the battle. On your journey to find Zygarde cells, you can do side quests, battle aggressive Pokemon in the wild, and catch them to use in boss battles and the overworld. How do you catch these Pokemon? Well, the ultimate weapon not only created Mega Stones that are irradiated with infinity energy from Pokemon, but also created stones that can suck infinity energy, kind of like a Pokeball. But in order to acquire Zygarde cells, there are 4 main methods. You can enter a dungeon with puzzles that have a Zygarde cell at the end, like shrines in Breath of the Wild. You can enter a dungeon with puzzles and a battle with an elder who has been entrusted to guard the cell. The third method is raiding enemy camps, some of which are led by AZ's generals who are still loyal to him and are in possession of a Zygarde cell. Or using the fourth method, you can enter a secret location like a forest or a cave where a cell is guarded by a berserk Mega Pokemon. Once you defeat these newly evolved Megas, you can capture their infinity energy to use once in a while in battle. Kinda like Mipha's Grace or Urbosa's Fury in Breath of the Wild. So go explore the diverse environments of Kalos as you gain the strength to save AZ from himself. Pokémon Legends Kyurem takes place in the metropolitan area of Castelia 100 years ago. You play as a detective's assistant in 1920s-inspired Unova during the heat of a gang war between 2 mobs that embody the opposite ends of political extremes. Each side wants to resurrect the dragon of truth or ideals in order to destroy the other gang. This is pretty much an action detective game, kinda like Arkham City or Judgment, with turn-based battles like Persona or XD Gala Darkness. This version of Castelia is as big as a region, so imagine Grand Theft Auto 4, or the 2018 Spider-Man game. You see, as you progress through the game, you'll have access to more and more of your boss's Pokemon that you can use in various ways, like using his Luxray to see through objects, Autonote to hear very far, Excadrill to tunnel, Surfine to use its Vine Whips like a grappling hook, or Braviary to just fly around. You can even use your own Pokemon that you catch throughout the city to like use Flash in a car chase, or when sneaking around enemy territory, you can use your own Pokemon to just simply knock out the humans with moves like Sleep Powder or Karate Chop, just in case you think it's a hassle to actually straight up battle these henchmen. You can even use Zora or Chatot as disguises. You'll be encountering and battling mob bosses, foiling the schemes of various colorful characters, and unraveling conspiracies and corruption. By the end game, during the final gang war, between the two factions and the dragons that they've resurrected, it's revealed that the commissioner actually tricked both gangs into reviving the legendaries and fighting in that exact same location in order to fuse them with the Kyurem that he's got and revive the original dragon so that he can finally wipe out both gangs at the same time. We finally get to see the original dragon, but it goes crazy and we have to stop it. Now throughout the game, the destructive schemes of both of these gangs are actually harming the wild Pokemon around the city. So there is a mission where the Swords of Justice show up to clash with these gangs, and your boss is actually Charon's ancestor. Pokémon Legends Jirachi is set in East Hoenn within the original Emerald universe around the same time May or Brendan are facing the 4th gym. The game takes place in the span of 7 days during the Meteor Shower Festival. You play as this shy teenager who is attending the festival with their friends, and in the beginning of the game you enter a fortune teller's booth whose Xatu shows you a glimpse of the future. You see a meteor about to impact Hoenn. You brush it off, but you're clearly unsettled. As you leave the festival, a Jirachi teleports into your arms, clearly distressed, as if it was being chased. You once again see a vision of the catastrophe, and the game officially begins as you resolve to restore Jirachi's power and wish away the meteor. This is going to be a slice-of-life game where tons of different characters are after Jirachi. You'll have antagonists like greedy businessmen, the mayor, and even Tabitha from Team Magma and Shelly from Team Aqua in their original designs. There are some neutral parties who also want Jirachi's power, like Scott, who wants to use Jirachi to instantly create facilities for the Battle Frontier, or Watson, who wants to use Jirachi for energy. Even good guys would like to make a wish, but considering Jirachi isn't at full power, you help out all these good guys along the way so that Jirachi doesn't use up all its power. Winona even finds out about Jirachi and helps you out by flying you around. You start with 2 Pokemon that you already had from the beginning of the game, Grovyle and Linoon. But in the game, you can catch wild Pokemon to use in battles against people who want to take Jirachi. By the end of the game, you fulfill all the missions, and Jirachi has full power to wish away the meteor. This game is basically Your Name, but with Pokemon. Perhaps this game takes place parallel to another version of Oras, where Zinnia actually didn't stop the scientists from teleporting the meteor into the original universe. Maybe Jirachi simply wishes the meteor to land safely in the ocean, and that becomes Birth Island, where May and Brendan later in their journey can encounter Deoxys. Pokémon Legends Celebi takes place 150 years ago in Ecruteak City. The opening cutscene shows the burnt tower, burning, and the fallen Pokemon being resurrected as the legendary beasts. You play as a horrified monk who is watching from the crowd as the citizens of Ecruteak begin to chase away the beasts and persecute them. Now the actual game begins months later in Ilex Forest, where the monk is praying. Celebi appears to you and takes you to the past, hours before the brass tower burnt down. You try to stop the tower from burning to no avail. So instead you go back in time to try and prevent the deaths of the Pokemon multiple times, but fate always corrects itself, resulting in the creation of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. The true game begins as it's revealed that the Pokemon that became the beasts were actually your really good friends from the temple. So you resolve to go back in time, and instead of preventing their deaths, you try to prevent their persecution by doing tasks and missions for the townspeople with these Pokemon. You go on increasingly difficult quests for the citizens of Ecruteak, like battling bandits, exploring dungeons for specific treasures. You can even solve tons of puzzles by going even further in the past, and like planting trees, for example, to grow into platforms in the future. This game is kinda like Ocarina of Time, with the time limit of Majora's Mask, and even the reality bending of Age of Calamity. Now I imagine that these 3 Pokemon by your side are actually new Pokemon created solely for these games to finally reveal the true appearance of the beasts before they were resurrected. This is the only game where you can only use these 3 Pokemon, but they level up and learn moves. The more missions you go on, the more famous this trio becomes around town. At any point in the game, you can just go back to the future to see if your plan worked, and there will be a neutral, good, and perfect ending where all the townspeople recognize the resurrected beasts as the trio that helped them, and they immediately live in harmony with Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Pokémon Legends Mew takes place in Kanto 20 years after the events of Fire Red and Leaf Green, as Team Neo Rocket is revived by a strong and charismatic young leader who believes in survival of the fittest. This Team Neo Rocket is less like a criminal organization and more like a Japanese street gang run by teenagers and thugs. But they do prioritize strength and actually use the strongest Pokemon in Kanto instead of like Ekans and Koffing. You play as a young delinquent who joins the gang. In this game, while you can catch Pokemon, you're actually given strong Pokemon to use before every mission, and you'll be facing very tough opponents since the leader believes that members should only fight those stronger than them. Throughout the game, the missions get bigger and bigger in scope, so you'll begin with like infighting within the team, then battle various rival street gangs. You'll encounter strong trainers who are trying to stop Neo Team Rocket, like the children of Misty and Brock, and even Janine herself. But your toughest opponent and the antagonist of the game will be the Viridian City gym leader, Silver, who makes it his mission to stop you. Eventually you'll be ordered to go in teams to catch the strongest Pokemon in Kanto. There'll be tough battles in the overworld like in Legends Arceus. You'll begin to infiltrate companies like Silphco in order to steal machine parts. You'll break into evil science labs to collect and use DNA, and even come across a drug that the rival gang has created that increases the power of Pokemon. You slowly regret joining the team as they stray away from their original goal. Team Neo Rocket goes from a fraternity of delinquents to an actual criminal organization with evil schemes. By the end, you team up with Silver to take down the leader as his ultimate plan is revealed: to create Mew 3, a chimera of Mew and the strongest Pokemon in Kanto. But I don't want to reveal too much. Perhaps you'll want to see one of these games in a more fleshed out video. Leave a like to let me know you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't, and check the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon, where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos early or discounts on merch. You can click the join button to become a member and get the same perks. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys very soon.